Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see who's online. I this time have my phone with me so I can actually see who's online because I have noticed that on my computer app I'm not able to see. But welcome, everybody, and happy Thriving Thursday. I hope that everybody, that you all are having a really great week. It's the second week, full week of January. I hope that you are doing what you love and that you are making progress on the things that you set for yourself for the new year. And maybe those are new things, new projects, new goals, or maybe it's just a continuation of what you had last year. In any case, I wish you much success and hope that you are making the progress that you wish. I'm Carla. I'm a former management consultant turned full-time coach, full-time RV nomad, and entrepreneur. And on Thriving Thursdays, I broadcast from wherever our little 84 square foot home takes us, our little casita. And I share reflections and stories from the road to help you live your someday, not later, not someday, but live your someday now. And today I'm broadcasting on my Facebook and on my YouTube channel. And I am also posting this as a recording on LinkedIn. So if you are watching live, let me know, throw me a comment or drop me a comment. And if you're watching the recording, would love to hear from you and hear what you think. I'm trying to see who's on. So I'm going to go over to my phone and see if I can see that. All right, I see one person is on. Noah, hello. Thank you for joining. So, I mentioned that I broadcast from wherever a little camper takes us. And this week I am still broadcasting from West Texas, from the desert, where we have been making this our home for the last 2 months. And 2 months is probably the longest time that we have been in one place. And both happily and sadly, we are moving on to our next home tomorrow, actually. We really can't believe it. Time has flown by here. I am happy about where we're headed. We're going to head to the Gulf of Mexico, to the beach. I'm going to be able to hopefully park right on the beach. So I'm excited about that. But the reality is that we've also grown very fond of our little RV community here in West Texas. We've really enjoyed exploring the desert. The dogs have really loved, that wide open spaces. And so we've made some really nice memories being here. And so while I am very much looking forward to the next phase, that new home that we're going to be making on the beach, I also feel a sense of loss, a little bit of sadness for what we're leaving behind. And I find that I feel that constantly. As a full-time nomad, I am really always going through that cycle of change, of new beginnings and endings, and feeling the feels that go along with saying goodbye over and over and over. And here's the thing, I know that I'm not alone, right? Change is the only constant for all of us. And many times we're experiencing change, not just in one area of our lives, but we're simultaneously experiencing change in many areas. So maybe like us, maybe you are about to move into a new home. And at the same time, maybe you're making some changes in your health. And that's a change too. And so every time that we make a change, whether it's moving to a new home or changing jobs or going on a new health routine, we're leaving something behind. We're letting go of something that has become comfortable and has made us feel good in many ways. And that's not always easy. So this phase of change, this phase where you're not quite yet fully looking forward to what's next, but rather more focused on what you're letting go, many times goes along with feeling a little bit of sense of loss, maybe a little bit of anxiety, maybe a little bit of a sense of being paralyzed, not wanting to move forward because of fear of what's next. And I will tell you, I have moved throughout the course of my life so many times. When I was growing up in Mexico, we moved constantly. And so I started in new schools, and as an adult have started in new jobs, and now living this life, constantly am moving from place to place. And so I have experienced a lot of change in my life, but it doesn't really necessarily mean that it's easy, right? I still sometimes, many times, feel that sense of loss every time I say goodbye, every time I wrap up a chapter in order to move to the next one. So today I wanted to talk a little bit more about this, and I really wanted to focus on sharing some strategies that have helped me cope with this phase of change. Some strategies that you may consider, whether you're going through that phase right now, that phase of letting go, or you know that you're about to go through a change, and you know that it's hard to say goodbye and to let go of the things that you have become accustomed to. And I will say this, that we all, at some point or another throughout our lives, go through this phase, right? And we will continue to experience this phase regardless, right? Like we're all human and we all go through change. And so it's going to come up over and over again in your life. And it's a natural part of change to just feel that sense of loss. It's actually, our brains are actually protecting us from the failure that we think is ahead. It's helping us, our brain is helping us to conserve energy, it's helping us to not go into uncertain territory. It's trying to keep us safe. And so it's very natural, and it's a good thing to recognize that that's our brain at work. But we also can decide whether we are always going to resist change and always come from the mindset of change is hard, or we can recognize that yes, it's hard, but there are some things that we can do to make particularly this phase, which I think is one of the hardest ones of change, which is letting go, we can make it easier on ourselves. So my first strategy for you, one that I use all the time, pretty much every time that we move our home to a new location, is to think of the phase that you're in, or that you might be in, or that you might be in down the road, as a time to reset, as a time to create space for yourself for what's next. And here's what I mean by that. Over the last week, as we've known that we are moving on, my husband and I have really spent a lot of time doing a lot of busy work, like cleaning, things that we knew that need to get done. And what I've done personally is channel this energy of, oh, I'm leaving, I'm sad, into, okay, let me get some things done and make sure that when I move to that next place, when I start that next phase, I'm starting with a blank slate, or a much cleaner slate. So think about that. When you are going through a phase of loss, it's a really nice time to get busy and to channel that energy that may not be very productive into something that is productive, something that helps you to get the things done that you have been meaning to do. Like, I have been meaning to sew on a button on a shirt of mine. And so that's something that, that this is a good time to do those things, get those things done, create some space for what's next, and use this time to just reset and to just create a little bit of a lighter canvas, I guess you could say, as you go into the next phase of change. So that's my first strategy, one that has worked really well for me. Every time that we move, I use it as a time to clean, to finish up projects that we've been meaning to do before we move on to the next place. Tip number 2 is decide how you want to apply what you have learned in the current phase, or the phase that just passed, in order to really support you in the next phase. And here's what I mean by that. When we leave a job, for example, or we leave a home, we generally tend to think like, I'm sad, but I'm grateful for what this has taught me. And that's a really great way to think about change. However, I don't think that we are always specific enough. So when you are specific and you start to really make connections between what you learned and how you grew in the past to how you're going to apply that going forward, you really begin to shift your energy and really recognize what it is that the experience that you're about to leave, or that you just left, is given you in order to really support you in that next phase. So for example, when I left my corporate job this past summer, it was my choice, something that I decided was right for me. And even so, I felt very sad. I was leaving a really great team, a great group of people, a lot of stability, just a really great company. And so I felt very sad. And yes, I had this general sense of gratitude for what my former company did for me. But I got very specific in thinking about what are the things that I'm taking away from this that are really going to help me in my own business. So, for example, I thinking back, am very grateful for the opportunities that I had to speak in public because now I can have live shows like I am now with a lot more confidence. And so I'm getting very specific right there in connecting what I gained in the past experience to what I can gain in the future. And so again, my energy completely shifts when I just focus on I'm leaving this. I might as well get through it. Oh, well, we all go through change. Rather, these are some very specific ways in which this experience is going to support me moving forward. So it really starts to shift that energy from the past into how you're going to continue growing and thriving. Thanks in part to what you gained through that experience that you're just leaving. So that's the second tip, to just be very specific when you think about what you're grateful for, really connected to how it's going to support you moving forward. And the third tip, if you're really struggling to let go of the past, know that change is a cycle. And this particular phase of letting go is a phase. And it's really just a phase. It's, hey, Bob, hello, thank you for joining. This particular phase of letting go is really just that. It's a phase. It's a time-bound period of time that is going to end. In my coach training, when we talked about change, this was a very simple, I thought a very simple but very easy way to think about the phases of change. So we talked about how change is like a game of cards, right? A new beginning has to start with an ending. In the case of a card game, you have to, if you're playing cards, in the middle of playing cards, you have to end the game in order to start the next game. And that's when, you either have won or you either have lost, and you're tossing in the cards and saying, I am done. This phase is over. The next phase, what's great is that there's another phase around the corner. The next phase is the deal phase, or sorry, the shuffle phase. The phase when you gather the cards. You could equate that to gathering the cards, as in gather what you learned from the experience that you just had, and begin to shuffle. Begin to think about what it is that you want to do next. The shuffle phase is followed by the deal phase. That's where you start to establish the foundation for what it is that's going to be next for you. And then after deal, you move into play. You play the next game. You play the next change, the next transformation, the next experience that you are going after. And so really it's a beautiful way to think about it, because it's a cycle, right? You're not going to just stay in this one phase forever, and rather you have a new beginning to look forward to. And you can decide what that new beginning is going to look like and what that new phase and new experience that you're about to go into is going to be like. So, whoops, just hit my computer. So to recap, if you're currently experiencing a change of any sort, or you're about to go through a big change, and that letting go phase is hard, right? Like saying goodbye is really hard, whether it's people, whether it's place. We attach memories to places and to people as well, and it's not easy. But I do have those 3 tips for you to make the most of that letting go phase. Number 1 is to use your time and energy to clear the space for what it is that is next for you. Number 2, be specific when you think about what it is that you're grateful for, what it is that you're taking with you from the experience that you're leaving behind. What are the specific benefits, the specific ways that you grew in, that you're going to be taking with you and that are really going to serve you as you move forward. And tip number 3, feel peace in knowing that this is just a phase. And even if it's really difficult and hard to look at the silver lining, know that it's going to be over, know that it's going to end. And you get to decide how that new beginning that this ending is creating for you will unfold. So with that, happy Thriving Thursday to you all. thank you for joining, Noah and Bob, anybody else that's out there. I wish you a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you on next week's Thriving Thursday. Talk to you soon. Bye.